فاهمك انا يعني مش مبين وجهك.
يا حمد يا حمد.
Pretty much everywhere you look, there are signs things in Libya have been going terribly wrong. Once one of Africa's wealthiest nations, the country has been in shambles since a NATO-backed civil uprising brought Muammar Gaddafi's rule to an end. So much so that some here reminisce on the days Libya was governed with an iron fist.
I'm not praising Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi has been a dictator and he didn't do any good for the country for almost 4 decades or more. But one man in control is much better than all this.
8 years ago, Wada was only 22. He joined the revolution because he wanted change.
Oh, I felt really hopeful. I mean, every time I hear takbir in the streets, every time I hear fire shots, there's something inside me that moves. I mean, a country without Gaddafi, without dictatorship, without all that. But it was an April Fool, you know. We got fooled. We all got fooled. That's my opinion. I mean, after 2014, all that collapsed. All that hope, all that optimistic feeling, all disappeared. In my opinion, it all disappeared. There's nothing but war. There's nothing but conflict. There's nothing but children hurting, children crying. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad. You know, it's really bad.
And it's gotten worse. Since a renewed wave of violence reached the outskirts of Libya's capital. 2 sides, multiple players, in a dispute for power that has brought nothing but death, destruction, and hopelessness, embodied in an entire generation of Libyans that, like Wada, are now out of a job and of ideas. He's done with the fighting and has been spending time as best he can. Since the war started again, he has been volunteering at this shelter, where asylum seekers found refuge after escaping a detention center. The vast majority had come to Libya to try to get somewhere else and are now stuck. Just like Wada.
I cannot choose a country. I would go to any country that would take me. A safe country where my children can get an education. My only ambition is to reach a safe country where I can speak freely and express myself.
Munir, his wife, and 3 children can't really remember how long it took them to get from Eritrea to Libya. Once here, they were caught and placed in detention, where war, the third since Gaddafi was ousted in 2011, caught up with them. This amateur footage shows Libyan militia believed to be part of Khalifa Haftar's offensive on Tripoli attack a detention center where migrants and refugees were being held. Munir was there and saw everything.
People with guns came to us and wanted to take our phones and our money. We were divided into 3 groups. 18 or 20 people were injured by bullets. People began screaming, and then they took their machine guns and just sprayed the room with bullets.
7 people are thought to have been killed that day. Dozens were injured. Libya is not a signatory to the 1951 Refugee Convention. The country has no asylum system, and as per a deal signed in 2017 with the European Union, everyone entering Libya illegally or caught attempting the crossing of the Mediterranean Sea is placed in detention. Everyone, including pregnant women and children. Some 6,000 people are currently waiting for voluntary repatriation or deportation in one of the country's 26 detention centers. According to humanitarian organizations, these places are the stage to human rights violations that include forced labor, torture, and even sexual abuse. Euronews was granted access to one such center, the Al Nasser Martis Center, located in Azawiya, just 30 kilometers from the Libyan port of Sabrata, the epicenter of human trafficking to Europe. A place so dangerous we had to be escorted by 2 police cars. A different group of guards showed us around the tire factory turned detention facility. They filmed us during the tour, told us where we could and could not go, and listened in to every single interview. Asylum seekers were cautious, but keen to talk.
We are victims, we are survivors, so we need help from any organization, not only MSR, any organization you can help us because we are injured, we are in war places, in war zone, so we need help,
When I asked Imutan how he was being treated here, and what are conditions like in this place, he glanced at the guard.
From Bashir, this place is better. We are free to work alone, and but there are some problems. That is crowded places. We sleep for 1 month, 2 people. The other is good for food.
Imutan left Eritrea 2 years ago and got separated from his wife and 5-year-old child on the way. He hasn't heard from them since.
We need a safe place, whatever the country, if it is better for us, safe places.
How long have you been in Libya?
2 years and more. We ran from our countries because of war. Also, Libya is another country which is war is going on. So we are not safe any place of the Libya. So we need emergency vacation.
Sata Rusem left his home in Somalia at the age of 15 and crossed Kenya, Uganda, South Sudan, and Sudan to get to Libya. It's a very long trip.
Yeah, long journey, long process.
Difficult?
Difficult. Yeah, some they have died even in the Sahara.
We were not allowed to exchange contact details with the refugees.
No.
Nor were we authorized to enter the men's yard. At the women's, it became clear. As far as detention centers go, this is the gold standard. It's overcrowded, with over 850 people sleeping on the floor in communal hangars. But at least men are separated from women, and children get a space to play.
We face several challenges. For example, there are no septic tanks, blankets. These are some of the main challenges we're facing. NGOs have been promising many things, but problems remain, and so migrants lose patience. They say, "We want this now, you promised us." So yes, there are challenges, and so far we have nothing but empty promises. We're trying our best.
Indefinite detention, or the incarceration of a person without trial, is a violation of human rights laws. I asked the officer in charge of the center if he knew of other types of abuse.
Have you ever seen anything wrong in this center?
No, I've never seen anything like this. Here in this center, there has not been such a thing in this center at all.
We avoided asking refugees whether they were under duress. They wouldn't be able to give us an honest answer. Plus, they had most of the questions, including the agonizing when will they be let go of here. There are at least 4 other detention centers located in and around Tripoli, and since April 4th, they have been repeatedly exposed to the upsurge in fighting. Humanitarian organizations have been ringing the alarm. The situation, they say, is dire.
Detention centers were not built to house people. They are often warehouses that have now been used for the storage of people instead of goods. We sometimes call the cells hangars due to the just being a big, long, open room where hundreds of people are often packed in and locked inside. People are sleeping on concrete floors, sometimes with only a thin mattress, with very little access to the outside world. Those that are in detention are absolutely trapped. They're often locked into their cells and unable to leave. Several detention centers have been stuck right on the front lines during the conflict with fighting going on outside. Others that are further away from the front lines are also seeing the impact of the conflict as there's been shelling and airstrikes on civilian neighborhoods. And so these people, we believe they're at an even higher level of risk from the conflict itself because they're unable to flee. They're unable to get themselves out of those areas in order to be able to seek safety elsewhere.
Libya's migrant detention centers are controlled by the Department for Combating Illegal Migration, which receives its authority from the Ministry of Interior. We secured a meeting with Fatih Bashaga, dubbed the man calling the shots in Libya today, to ask him why things are this bad.
I once described Libya as a sick doctor that's being asked to treat patients. Because Libya has internal problems. Since the state fell apart, Libya hasn't been able to provide adequate services even for Libyans. And the EU demand that Libya secures the coast, fights human trafficking, cares and pays for illegal migrants in accordance with international standards. You know, Libya has many other problems: service problems, security problems, terrorism problems, and economic problems.
Libya also has a militia problem. A myriad of groups that have been fighting for territory and power. Some, using the weapons they amassed in years of lawlessness, have engaged in other, more lucrative business, such as human trafficking. Fatma has experienced the problem firsthand. Her entire family was taken and kept in captivity for several weeks.
There's nothing I can do. They used to beat me. There was nothing I could do about it. They didn't give us any food for several days. And so I had to breastfeed my children.
Fatma's husband is still missing. She escaped with her 3 daughters and, at least for now, is staying at this school-turned-shelter in the center of Tripoli, where we also met Munir and his family, and where Wada is volunteering. None of them have any idea as to what will happen next. If and when this school reopens for students, refugees and migrants will most likely be placed in detention once again. And Wada, well, Wada might end up in the front line.
For the refugees in here, I mean, I said they fled one hell to another. I mean, Libya's in hell right now. Libya's truly in hell right now. I mean, it's not just them feeling it. We also feeling it. Us guys who lived here, who are born here, who are gonna die here. I mean.
Dying in Libya is not that hard. And for many here, Western powers have a huge part of the responsibility.
France, but I don't mean the French people, I mean Macron, is the one who supported Haftar. Anybody who dies here, Macron is responsible. These 3 Arabian countries, Egypt, Saudi Arabia and Emirates, support Haftar, but Macron is the biggest devil of them all. Macron supported Haftar both politically and militarily.
We were invited for iftar, the meal Muslims have to break their fast during the holy month of Ramadan, near the front line. Commander Mohammed Halil Issa and his troops from Misrata hosted us. They were keen to display their high spirits. Misrata's 235 militia brigades are some of the most powerful forces in Libya. These are the men responsible for victory in the Battle of Sirte, known as ISIS's last stand in the country. Commander Issa wanted us to understand the irony behind the fact that those who pushed the terror group out of the country in 2016 are now being called terrorists. At a home-turned-field hospital near the front line, he showed us hours of video depicting his men in Sirte.
Those who are coming with Haftar now, they didn't fight terrorism. We did. The real war, which we fought for 7 or 8 months, and which resulted in the martyrdom of more than 700 people and injured 12,000. You say you're fighting terrorism in Tripoli, and that these are terrorists? They fought Daesh with me.
These men say they are defending their country and its future. They believe Haftar's real objective is to harness military power and become the de facto ruler of Libya, effectively destroying the country's project of democracy. And while some fight for stability with artillery, others say they are still hoping to build it through politics. After the virtual secession between East and West, a new House of Representatives was created in Tripoli by self-appointed members who said the mandate of the other administration has now expired. They meet at this run-down convention center, which paints an accurate picture of the state of Libyan institutions today, where bullet holes are part of the landscape, toilets have no running water, and electricity is unreliable. In a context like this, I dared asking the question about Europe's proposal that Libya held elections.
In Libya, we still, as I told you, we are not experts. We don't have this historical experience in democracy. In democracy, I believe that you have to accept the results. If you are not in the power, so you are in the opposition. We don't have this terminology or these concepts. Part of our problem is this. When they spoke about the election, to be honest, in Paris last year, I was shocked. I know that it's not going to be an easy task.
Days after our visit, the war invited itself into politics. The HOR building was hit by a rocket, and a member of the House kidnapped by militias. So what is next for Libya?
Well, I think we have two scenarios. Haftar in the scene, I don't think, personally, I don't see that any political breakthrough. But if he's out of the scene, outside of the scene, we might have a political process ended up with an election within 18 or 24 months. I have to go.
As faith in a political solution for Libya hangs by a thread, faith in something bigger is what keeps some here hopeful and alive. This church serves as a safe space and a refuge. Going back is not an option, and so Daniel, who's already tried crossing the Mediterranean Sea 3 times, might try it again.
If you're happy, I try, because of life, the Libyan life is very difficult. Very difficult. If I have two choices, you died in the sea or you live in Libya. In Travelers, I chose died in the sea. Really, really.
For thousands of people, some escaping war, others crippling poverty, Libya is a passageway, a transit point, a way to get somewhere new. Sometimes, many times, Libya becomes the end of the road. Over the past 5 years, nearly 20,000 people went missing while attempting the crossing of the Mediterranean Sea. According to the International Organization for Migration, over 8,000 of them are confirmed to have died. A massacre that many blame on Europe. European migration policy has seen much of the responsibility for EU countries' border control shifted to Libya. Libya's Coast Guard received training, funds, and equipment from the EU in exchange for patrolling the Mediterranean Sea.
Unfortunately, the European Union is only interested in illegal migration. And this approach is flawed and one-sided. We believe our task is much bigger: to protect Libyan sovereignty and fight illegal migration. When we fight illegal migration, we don't follow European models. We do it according to the Libyan approach, which is more efficient to guarantee regional peace and security.
With regards to their sometimes controversial approach when intercepting people at sea, Libya has been accused of abandoning migrants and refugees and threatening others at gunpoint. Lieutenant General Ayub Qasim says the country is merely trying to send migrants a message.
We don't fight migrants. We're fighting the migration culture. We don't want migrants to think that Libya is open for whenever they want to come in and out.
The EU has reportedly spent 200 million euros in a plan aimed at stopping migration from Libya, including 32 million to expand a training program for the Libyan Coast Guard. Libyans say all that money got them was 6 old Italian vessels. We boarded one of them for a routine night patrol, 60 nautical miles northwest of Tripoli. Tonight, officers are looking for people smuggling, but also illegal fishing and drug or fuel trafficking. But halfway through to our destination, we were forced to turn around.
We're now arriving back in Tripoli. The weather conditions were pretty bad, so we were forced to cut this patrol short. The commander was explaining how little means they have to actually conduct these operations. And the waves weren't even that big, but they had to turn around. Big waves, strong winds, those are normal elements when it comes to patrolling the sea. But the Libyans can't really work under those conditions.
Since the conflict started again, a spike in departures saw more than 100 migrants and refugees drown. Nearly 900 were intercepted at sea and returned to Libya to join the thousands stuck in a place from where there is no escape. Would you ever consider like what these people do, just to get on a boat and leave?
All the time. All the time. All the time. Just thinking about what if I went there and what am I gonna be doing? What kind of job am I gonna be working? What am I gonna be studying? I mean, I almost did it one time. That was 3 years ago. I almost did it.
What was in your head? Why?
I was like suffocating, you know? The world just kept getting smaller and smaller. Walls kept closing on me. It's been like 10 years right now. I haven't even moved an inch forward. I have done nothing with my life, you know? I'm 30 years old now. I mean, don't have a house, I don't have a job, I don't know what the future is gonna bring to me.
Do you feel like Libya is a place that can offer you a future?
If it was well managed, yeah, it can offer everyone a better future. Even the refugees can get a better future here in Libya. But if it will last as it is right now, there's no future for no one.